I'm here at my remote shop in Los Alamos, and I thought I'd show you the instruments that I keep here at the remote shop. I'm spending more and more time here, three to 5 days a week now, sometimes. And of course, you guys have all seen, if you go back and look at it, my remote workshop, which is right next door. So I'm actually pretty comfortable up here in this office building. But thought I would show you the instruments that I brought with me that live here. Number one is my Krishot mandolin. This is made in the Czech Republic, and this one is a 2002 serial number 265. You can see this. I had this one before the elk horn, quite a bit before. You can see the wear on the neck on it. And over here, that's my wear. And the finish is cracked. Not bad. I mean, it's not shattered, but it's definitely got finish cracks in it. I did the pick guard on it. What else did I do in this? I made a new nut for it finally one day. The nut was really good at first, but I started to get more critical about the nuts, and I changed this one out and gave it just a little bit wider spacing, things like that. But this one has a funny story, okay? Again, like I said, all my instruments have funny stories, which is why I keep them. In 2002, I was playing a different mandolin, and my friend John Beaver, who I mentioned before with the elkhorn mandolin, emailed me and said, "Yeah, you need a good mandolin." He said, "Meet me in Woodward, Oklahoma, and I've got something for you." He didn't say mandolin at that time, but he said, "I've got something for you." So I'm like, well, okay, Woodward is, 4.5 hours away. But I knew John had something up his sleeve here. So I went over there, and first of all, I walked in and he says, "Okay, I got this mandolin for you, and I think you should take a look at it and see what you think about it." So the story was that he lives in Oklahoma, pretty close to Byron Berline's shop at the time, So John's a wheeler and dealer, and he ended up trading fiddles and trading up on fiddles until finally he had a fiddle that Byron Berline liked. So John traded it to him for an elkhorn mandola, if I recall. Then they took the mandola and they shipped it on up to Arvada, Colorado, to Kit Simon's shop, old-time picking party, and traded for the mandolin that Kit had. Oh man, this story goes deep. So John ended up with this mandolin that came from Kit's shop, right? I remember the other way around. The mandola went. Yeah, Byron had the mandola. Kit had the mandolin. The mandolin came down, the mandola went up, all for a fiddle train that John probably had about $100 invested in. And he ends up with this mandolin, and he says, "I think you should buy this mandolin." So I said, "Oh, how much?" Well, he named me a price that was like ridiculously low. I mean, there was no way I could pass it up. And I had played Krishot mandolins at Kit's shop in Arvada. I really liked them. So I bought it. Okay, then the second part of the story was that John had told his wife, and we were just getting kind of know each other, back in 2002. That was a long time ago. And I hadn't met his wife yet, and he told his wife what he was going to do. And she says, "Okay, so let me get this straight. You're going to go spend the night in a motel room with a guy you met on the internet." Well, if you want to put it like that, she was joking about it. Anyway, I ended up spending a lot of time at John's house after that, and I've got so many funny stories, so many hilarious stories about that. I'll just tell you one, okay? There's another friend of mine that lives over there, Dave, he had a bourgeois guitar, and he wanted me to do a few things to, slot the bridge and, make a new nut and everything. So I was over there spending the weekend at John's house, and I decided to do it. Dave is adamant that I don't take the popsicle brace out. Well, bourgeois guitars don't have a popsicle brace. So I got a 2x4, shaved, made a bunch of shavings, put them in a Ziploc bag, and put them in there and put them in the case. And Dave comes in, and what are these shavings? I said, well, it's a popsicle brace. Yeah. Awkward silence for a minute. John and I, meanwhile, are just trying so hard not to crack up. Finally, I had to tell him, bourgeois don't have popsicle braces. They don't come stock from the factory with one. Man, that was just, it was just dead silence for 30 seconds. Well, Dave was deciding whether or not to squash me like a bug, what he was going to do. So, I got this mandolin from John. I also got the Engelmann indirectly from John because he traded it off to Rick, and I traded it to Rick for the D28. So, we have a lot of history. So, let's play this thing. Okay, I'll play it, and I'll tell you just another thing about it. This mandolin compared to the Elkhorn, I keep thinking of Elkhart, Kansas. They both have Engelmann spruce tops, but this is a different sound because this one is X-braced, which I had no idea. I just played it when John showed it to me, and man, I liked it a lot. It had almost like a Collins sound, but warmer, richer. Plus, it was a Krishot, which made it kind of cool because it's made in the Czech Republic. Anyway, it has X-braces. I found that out when I finally got poking a mirror in it. It also has a bolt-on neck, which is interesting. But otherwise, the workmanship on this thing is fantastic. 2002, so that makes us 21 years old now. And the binding is nice and yellow from age. All the binding is really, really tight. No issues whatsoever. This is a solid mandolin. I tend to use this one more for Grisman stuff, if you will, because the mid-range on this, especially the A string, to me just has this clarity to it. It does not have the woofy, open Monroe Sam Bush sound that I described the Elkhorn as having. So, for instance, like this. I would rather play that on the Elkhorn. The Elkhorn's got a woodier sound to it. But something like this, let's see. I can't remember how it goes. That thing. That Grisman sort of sound, I think this one sounds good for that. I forgot that song. That's okay. What's that note? I like this mandolin better for that kind of thing. The clarity of it, that kind of. The neck is a little slimmer than the Elkhorn. I kind of like the Elkhorn's neck a little bit better, but this one's good. In fact, the reason I went to this mandolin is because I wanted to do a slimmer neck. I had a Summit 100S mandolin, which is a fantastic mandolin, but it had this huge V-neck. And after playing it a while, I just kind of wanted to try the slimmer lore style neck. And of course, lores vary all over the place. After I played 9 lores, and they're all different necks. But this has a very slim, smooth taper to it. After I played it for 20 years, I wanted a little bit chunkier neck. It's just you kind of want different things at different times. But I like to play the swing, Grisman stuff. When I want a clear tone, I feel like this is probably a more versatile mandolin. And this is the one that I use to plug in. It has a K&K vintage jack, which if you go back and look at my video I just did on the vintage jack, this is the one that has that on it. And this is the tail that I was talking about in that video. So what I do is I take that adapter and I tape it to this tail right here so that it sticks up here. It's got that right angle and it's fastened to this tail, and then I plug my cord into that. I took it off now because I haven't been gigging on it, and I don't want it rattling around in there, inside the case. So, but this is the Krishot mandolin, and this is I really love this mandolin. I thought, here's a good story about sound perceptions. I had, I get these depressions where I'm going to sell everything I own, or I'm going to buckle down to one mandolin, or whatever. So at Winfield one year, I took both of my mandolins, the Elkhorn and the Krishot, and we were in the when I go to Winfield, which I haven't been in a couple of years, but we had the coyote camp, and everybody there has these fantastic instruments. There's just great mandolin players in that camp. There are people with a very discerning ear, basically. So I put the 2 mandolins out, and everybody that walked by said, "Hey, play these 2 mandolins and tell me which one you would leave Winfield with, if you could have one." Okay? So a dozen people played them, and it's hilarious to me because the opinion was completely evenly split. And not only that, but there was very few people that had a lukewarm opinion. There were very few people that said, "Oh man, that's tough." Most people had a very clear preference for one or the other, and half the people chose this Krishot, half the people chose the Elkhorn. One of the guys picked the Elkhorn and said, "Man, that's like one of the best mandolins I've ever played," and he's got a Gibson Master Model, so distressed. That's a top-notch mandolin. So it's just funny. And people would say things like, "Well, that one's got better bass. Oh, that one's got better bass." So they said the same exact thing about the other mandolin. So it was interesting. So after doing that, I said, I'm just going to keep it. Keep them both. And it works out really good because, I have one mandolin over there and I have one mandolin over here. And so, that works out pretty good for me. And they have different functions for me now. This is my plug-in gig mandolin. That's what I use it for. This is the one I played at Winfield in the mandolin contest in 2014. Gosh, I like to talk a lot, but these are good stories, I think. So after my son, David, passed away in 2012, for the first year and a half, I had absolutely zero creativity. I could not play music. I couldn't come up with anything. So what I would do is sit there and I would just play jigs, Irish jigs, over and over and over, rote repetition, no variation, just the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. And probably about a year and a half, year afterwards, I kind of started to get over it. And in fact, it was that summer that I went to Kaufman Camp and got the Elkhorn. So that fall, I went to Winfield, and I decided I was going to play. I started to get moving again. And I decided to play in the guitar contest and then the mandolin contest too while I was there. So just to kind of put a stamp on my recovery, if you will, I took one of the jigs I had been playing and I arranged it for on mandolin. I made an arrangement on it. And I played that in the contest. And I've got a video on that. If you go to my channel and you search for Mandolin Winfield, I believe you'll find it. It might not be public right now, but I'll make sure it's public. And you can see me on stage playing this mandolin, playing the jig that I arranged in this torrential downpour. It was so loud. It was unbelievable. But actually worked to my advantage. Because I'm really good. I have a hearing loss, but I'm really good at the rain doesn't bother me because it was out there and the mandolin's right under my face so I can hear it pretty good. So that rain didn't really bother me and it kind of maybe covered up some mistakes. Anyway, I thought I played pretty good in that contest. Of course, I didn't win. I didn't expect to win. I didn't expect to make the top 5 because there's a real mandolin players and at the Winfield. I just wanted to play and make a good showing, and I thought I did a pretty good job of it. In the video, you can see this guy's head bobbing along in time. That's cool. And after the contest, I went backstage, and Steve Kaufman walked clear across the arena, came backstage, clear across the backstage, and came up to me and said, "That was really good, Brian." That's, whoa, I mean, that's all I wanted. Steve took the time to do that. And so I felt really good about that. I felt like I played good. Anyway, so I played this mandolin in that contest because I played the tunes on both mandolins at camp, and pretty much everyone agreed that I was a little bit cleaner and a little bit clearer on this one. And, again, I was just getting used to the Elkhorn. I'd only had it for a couple months. And I'm not even sure if I had reshaved the neck or anything or refret it to make those little comfort things. I wasn't used to it. I was used to this. And I played just a little cleaner on this one. So this one definitely has a place for me, along with having a great story. John Beaver trading a $100 fiddle up the line to get it for me. And then driving across to Oklahoma to meet me in a motel room to exchange money. This is Proulx number 2. This is my other OMD, and this one's a 2003 model. So I got this one at Kaufman Camp 2003, which was, even though the other one is 2002, I got it in early 2002. I got this one in late 2003, so it's almost 2 years later that I got this one. The point of this guitar is that I was, for a long time, Mario Proux's United States guitar repairman because, he had guitars down here, and it's a pain in the butt shipping them back and forth to Canada. It's expensive. He doesn't have time to do it. He's building guitars. So he would have his people send me the guitars, and then I would repair them. And I never charged him a dime. I shouldn't charge anybody a dime for the warranty repair. So he said, "Okay, I want to make you a guitar as payment." He said, "What do you want?" I'd played one of Alan Shadd's Walnut and Engelmann guitars, and I played one of Raleigh Brown's Engelmann top guitars. I really liked the Engelmann sound. Plus, it was different from the other Proulx. I wanted something different, and I didn't want a mahogany Adirondack thing. I wanted something different. So I told Mary, I said, I'd like to have a walnut Engelmann, because I think it was Alan's guitar that had that. I think one of his Ronnie Griffin's was a walnut Engelmann, and it was just different. It was cool sounding, nice, So anyway, that's what I said. I said, "I want a walnut Engelmann." He said, "Well, that's funny because I've been wanting to build one of those." So we agreed. So that's what this one is. This is an Engelmann spruce top. It's a walnut back and sides, and the bindings are walnut. In fact, the entire guitar is walnut. The neck is not mahogany, it's walnut. It's got a walnut neck in it, flamed walnut binding. I mean, cool, look at that, And again, like I've said before, I like binding on the neck of a guitar. That's all wood binding. wooden back step, walnut. So I got the guitar in, and once again, Mario and I miscommunicated on the neck. It had the massive, huge neck on it, which I then shaved down because I'd already done the other one. I said, that's fine in a way because it lets me shave the neck down to what I want. So you're kind of almost giving me like a rough blank here, and then I'll take the neck down to where I want it, rather than you trying to hit my target. And I don't care about the finish, I did the same thing, and you can see a little bit of color variation right here with my French polish, different color. I don't care. Main thing I wanted was the neck. I left this one just a little bit chunkier than the other one. At first I thought maybe I made it too chunky, but no. It's kind of like the elk horn and the Krishot mandolins. There's two different necks, and I like them different for different things. Anyway, I ended up putting gold tuners on this, which I thought was kind of garish, but I thought it went really well with the sunburst, and I put a gold strap button on it. And I have a K&K pickup on this one, regular jack. I drilled it out, put that pickup in there, and this is my stage guitar. So, what have I done to this one? The bridge. I shaved the bridge down. Probably a year after I got it. Yeah, a year and a half after I got it. It needed a neck reset. However, I was measuring the bridge and I said, that bridge is really fat. I think I'll just shave the bridge down and take it down to a more vintage height and, put that arch that I want in it and all that kind of thing. And that's what I ended up doing. I just shaved the bridge down. Not sure if I even took it off or if I just shaved it down right there on the guitar. And that's it. 2003, so it's 20 years old, and I haven't touched a thing. This one's different. I'm going to play it, and you're going to hear it. This one's different. It's got a double X bracing in it, rather than your standard Morton with an X. It's got an X here, but then back here, it's got another X, like this. And I told you, Mario is as much influenced by Gibson as he is Morton. So he's got Gibson things and he's got Morton influences. He's not a Morton, pre-war D28 diehard at all. A lot of Gibson influence. For instance, the bridges, straight bridge, that's a Gibson influence. What he did on this one too, if you notice, speaking of the bridges, the wings are angled, and the angle matches the X bracing under here. That's just kind of a cool little touch, So, this one has a double X bracing, and it's got an adjustable truss rod in it. All of Mario's guitars are both on necks. This one's never been off. I think I reset the neck on the other one pretty quick, but this one I shaved the bridge. This one also has fossil walrus. No, these might be bone. These might be bone bridge pins, but they have no collars on them, and they're sitting way down flush again. So, I didn't like this guitar. I played it about a year and a half, and the low E was rubber bandy, and it still can get a little rubber bandy. It's a little tubby, rubber bandy. It was worse, but the high end. Sweet. So I sold this guitar because I wanted some money for something or another. I showed it to Andy, and Andy played it for a little while. He said, "Oh, it's a perfect guitar." He sold it on down the line to Peter. And probably 4 years after all of this happened, after I sold it, I was at Kaufman Camp. Peter was there. He had this guitar, and I said, "Can I see it?" And I played it, and golly, it just blew me away with how much better it sounded. And I said, "Oh, man, if you ever sell it, please let me know. I want it back." So maybe a year later, I worked on a guitar for Peter, and it was one that he he'd had forever, and it went through college with him. It went through his job as a ski bum. He took it on the ski lift with him and would play a Martin triple out or double out. He'd play it up in the tower while he was a ski attendant. He gave it to his daughter, and it needed some TLC. It needed some resurrecting. So he shared it to me. I worked on it and did my little thing to it, neck reset, took care of all the stuff on it, fixed the loose braces, blah, blah, blah. Sent it back, and he just was extremely thankful. He was floored by how well and how good it sounded and how much I had restored it. I don't do any finish restoration or anything, but I put the braces back on. And I think maybe an appreciation for that, when it came time for him to move on, he contacted me. He said, all right, I'm going to sell it back to you for what I paid Andy, which is what? So for the same price that I sold it to Andy, 5 years later, I bought it back from Peter. So it ended up being like a loan, an interest-free loan for 5 years. So I got it back, and the first thing that happened was my daughter stole it and took it to her room, and I didn't see it again for 3 or 4 months. And finally I had to go and say, man, I want my Proulx back. I'll give it to you when I die, but I want my Proulx back. And I got her a Martin Triple Out 1R, which is a great guitar. They're sturdy, good sounding triple out guitars. So I did that. I got this guitar back. I started playing it in non-bluegrass situations. So this is the guitar I take out for gigs. Got a pickup in it. This is the guitar I do Irish tunes on. So as much as I do Irish tunes, You see. Anyway, I gotta work through those, That's the guitar I do those on. When I used to play at the restaurant, I would play anything. So I would do a set of jigs like that, I started playing Little Wing. I'd make these medleys of things that, stuff like that, as well as bluegrass, Of course, Redhead Boy is almost an Irish tune. But this guitar was more versatile to me than my other one. The other one's a bluegrass guitar. I love the neck on this now. I was correct in not shaving it down more, because it's a nice chunky neck. Keeps my hand very relaxed. To me, bigger necks are more muscle relaxing. And if you look at your forearm, you can see what happens here. When you have your hand open like this muscle is relaxed. And as you close it, that muscle tenses. You can see that happening there. You can see it on your hand. So if you have a neck like this muscle is relaxed, but the more you close it, the more that muscle tenses up. And so chunky necks are easier, more relaxing for me to play for a long time. Thinner necks, I don't cramp, because then I start moving my fingers more. But they're not as comfortable for a long time for me. I like big necks. So this neck was perfect for that. And so this is my versatile guitar, my versatile OMD. Goes to my daughter. I would probably, if the house burned down, I would save the other one first, just because it's number 1. And this is number 15 or 20, or down the line. But this would be the second one. I keep this one in a Carlton case, and so in all likelihood, I'd probably grab that Carlton case and throw it out the window, because it could hit the sidewalk and be just fine. And then the other one I would grab, and I would take it down like that. So, But I like this guitar, and I'm so eternally grateful to Peter for selling it back to me. It was stupid of me to even let it go. However, it got out to see the world, and it traveled along, and I think it plays and sounds better because of its voyages across the United States. That's my hypothesis. So this is Proulx OM number 2, walnut, again, walnut, Engelmann. Unique guitar. I really like this one. We're back, and this is actually a whole different day from the other part of this video, and the reason for that is because I wanted to show you this guitar, and I didn't have a cord with me. So I had to wait till I went back to Angel Fire and pick up a cord. The reason I didn't have a cord with me is because the guitar that used to live over here was the Dan Electro that I showed in my other video, and the cord was in the case, and so when I took that guitar back, I took the cord with me, and I didn't realize that until I went to get this guitar out, which shows you how much I actually play this year. And that's just, you know, I'm busy here, and when I do have a little bit of free time here in Los Alamos, I generally go work on guitars. Then I catch up on all my email and all my other stuff. So I really don't spend as much time playing here as I should. But anyway, okay, so this is a Telecaster. This is another one. This one is completely different from my other Teles. And this is another one of those deals where I had the neck and I needed to build the guitar around it. I didn't have any, let me think. Yeah, the other two are maple. I just wanted to be sure about that. I had so many Teles and Strats and I couldn't remember. Anyway, I wanted a rosewood neck. And you know, again, being an all-parts guy, it's pretty easy for me to get these necks, and they're $200, and then I do what I want with them. This one has just a pure French polish shellac on the back of it, and I think the headstock, I think I oversprayed the headstock with lacquer, just the headstock. It actually says Esquire. It's got an Esquire sticker on it. And that's because it was an Esquire one time. I thought, yeah, I want an Esquire. I don't even remember if it was this guitar, if it was another one or what, but I actually had an Esquire. Maybe it was this one, I don't know. It's got an Esquire sticker, but I wanted a rosewood neck. I may have ran this on the B-Bender for just a little while. It's a rosewood neck, okay? It's got just regular old Goto tuners on it, nothing special, my nut. It's got the stock frets on it, no big deal there. What this guitar turned into, though, over the evolution of putting pickups in it and everything, it turned into a half-bridge Telecaster, which is something that I kind of always wanted to play with. And let's move up here and you can see that. And you can see the bridge on this one doesn't go all the way up in. It's not a full metal bridge like most Telecasters have. G.E. Smith, the guy that popularized that, I don't know. I first saw that on the G.E. Smith signature model. And I thought, well, that's interesting because so much of the Telecaster theme is the fact that this bridge is magnetized and so kind of essentially becomes a great big huge pickup. That's part of where the twang comes from, is because if you know your electric guitars, you know that if you pull that pickup up too close to the strings, the magnets will actually stop it from moving. And man, if you slack the strings off, you know, a good pickup will just pull the string right down to it. So the more magnetic fields you've got going in here, the more it stops that string from vibrating. And I thought, you know, that's part of the difference maybe between the sound of a Tele and a Strat. It's where the Tele gets a little bit of that twang from. And also having the three saddles. You've got two strings pulling down on each saddle, which is different. I've had 6 saddle Teles before, and I just didn't like them. I mean, I liked them, but when I went to the 3 saddles, to me, that's where the Telecaster, that differentiated the Tele from the Strat a little bit more. Made them fatter sounding, you know. I don't know. Anyway, this is a half bridge, so it doesn't have the magnetic pull up here. It's got angled brass saddles. Those are probably Stumac saddles. They're angled for intonation. It has a Seymour Duncan Jerry Donahue in the bridge. and then it has a Seymour Duncan Fat Cat, which is a P90 up front. And I think someone gave me the P90, and I think it actually lived. Now that was a humbucker that lived in the bee bender for a little while. I'm not sure where that humbucker went. Might be in my parts store. But this P90 came to me, and then I had a Dirty Harry back here, which is a P90 type pickup. And I ran those two together, and there wasn't any difference from the sound. They both had the same kind of P90 sound. So I paired this P90 here. I wanted to try the Jerry Donahue, and I think that's what started all this, I think I made an Esquire with the Jerry Donahue, and that was pretty fun. And then all these other parts started dropping into my lap, like this P90 dropped into my lap, and this control plate dropped into my lap, and I'll get to that in a minute. And I thought, gosh, I wonder what would happen. And the next thing you know, I've got the Jerry Donahue paired with the P90, and that combination was really, that was something. That was something different from anything I had. The Dirty Harry and the P90, the Dirty Harry and the Fat Cat, sounded too much the same. They're both really good. I would have had one or the other, but I wanted the Tele snap. This Jerry Donahue is an outstanding Telecaster pickup, in my humble opinion. It really, I'll show you. It cleans up when you roll the volume up, and when you make it bark, it roars. That is an outstanding, versatile Tele pickup. And of course, because the half bridge, I have this mounted straight to the wood. It's got a piece of foam underneath it so that you can get some spring tension. Okay, so the other thing going on with this guitar, other than the body, it's another one of those things. I was just kicking around on eBay, and I saw this blue body on there, and I think it's a Mighty Mite. I can't remember. I think it's a Mighty Mite, and I just put it in again, a low ball bed. I don't care. And I want it, and it's a cool, I don't have anything that looks like that. It kind of goes with my blue Les Paul. And so a lot of times when I'm arranging guitars, I put the blue Les Paul and the blue Tele next to each other, and then the Sunburst Stat and the Sunburst Tele, and then I put the blonde Tele in the middle, and then I wonder, should I put the Rosewood next together? I just, it's fun arranging guitars in logical patterns. But I kind of feel like the blue body on this is, it goes good with my blue Les Paul. It's a real pretty body. It's nothing like I have, and I thought it goes good with the Rosewood neck, so it's a completely different guitar. So the control plate came from another guitar I was working on it for a friend, and he wanted me to do some rewiring, and then he said, just keep that control plate, I don't want it back. What it's got is split pots on the tone pots, and y'all can look up the specs. I don't actually know the spec. I think it came from a Twisted Tele setup, but if I recall, the front half of this tone part is a 250, and then you go halfway over here, and it hits an indent, and that indent is no tone at all, no tone control, and then when you go the other way, it's got a 500K if I recall, and it might be a 250 and 1 meg. I don't remember. It's a split pot though. I just thought I'd throw it in here. I'm not sure I like it all that much. I think I'd be just fine with a 500K, in the volume. Make something really bright and just use a single tone to control. I don't hear a whole awful lot of difference, but theoretically, this should pair good with the P90 in there. So it kind of gives you a tone control that can run with the P90, and then a tone control separately that can run with the Tele pickup. So, like I said, this is kind of a unique guitar. It's way different from the other Tele. It's certainly way different from the blonde Telecaster, which is as 50s as I could ever get the thing, except for the switch. I did want modern switching on that rather than the true 50s. And this just has a 3-way switch in it. I don't like 4-way switches that much. I've never gotten along with them. So it's just got a standard 3-way switch in it. So The little amp I'm running through here, just so you know, because remember I'm in the shop. I don't have my Super Champ X2, which I think is a really good amp. I like that a lot. I should pick up another one, or maybe a Pro Junior or something. But what I have here is the pig nose, and these are fun. I mean, everybody knows everything about pig nose, right? It's a battery powered amp. You can open the back of it up, and you can get kind of a different sound with the back open. I just kind of always wanted a good battery powered amp, and the pig nose has a legendary reputation, even though they're made in China now. I made power outlet for it by using the correct voltage and splicing it onto a 1/8 of an inch cable. So I do have that, and it's quieter than the standard power outlet. They can get noisy. I think they corrected that. But anyway, so I'm running through a pig nose here, which is not the best amp in the world for really listening to guitar, but it's got its own charms, All right, so let's take a listen to this guitar. It has a lot of tone possibilities, which we may or may not go through all of them, As far as, one more thing about the neck. I have put rosewood neck. I have put this neck on other Teles. In fact, I think this neck has been on all of my Telecasters just for fun. And, I swear there's a difference in the sound. Some people say, oh, it's all about the pickup. Yeah, but I don't think so. There's some other things going on. The rosewood definitely has a different feel than maple does. It's got it's got a strap feel to it. You're used to rosewood on a strap. It's got that kind of feel to it. It's cooler to your fingers. That seems like a strange thing to say, but it's got a different feel under your fingers. It's cooler, and when you're bending, it's got a different feel to the bends. I think I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan say that one time about the maple. He said that the rosewood was a cooler feeling, and maybe that's where I got that term. But it definitely feels different under your fingers, and so it's a different look too. And so when you're looking down at the guitar, it looks different. That kind of influences me a little bit. So here's the P90, and we'll put the volume up probably about 3/4. I want to show you how radical of a difference the volume makes on this, especially on this bridge pickup. Okay, so. That's a pretty good sound, Let's take it all the way up. Well, it's got some rip to it, Roll it back off a little bit more. Tone is all the way up too, by the way. Okay, let's roll the tone back. I'm going to bring the volume up a little bit. I'm going to roll this tone back to the indent, and then just a little bit in front of that. So that should be a darker sound. volume all the way up. Bring this tone up to about half now. And the trouble with the half tone, it's very sensitive to position, so you don't get that whole wah-wah sweep sound like that. It changes pretty quick, okay? So, tone's in the middle now. There's some variation there. Okay, let's go to the bridge. This is the bridge. I'm going to roll that back a little bit now. And put that tone, this tone is going to go in the middle. Pretty snappy. We're bringing the tone to the other side now. We're going to park it in the middle. You know, I like that. Now I should bring the volume all the way up and listen to that. Sound, you know, pretty good sound. Now, this is where I think the magic really happens, and that's in the middle position, using the P90 and the Jerry Donahue. That's snarly, you know. I use this one for whatever I can do in rock and blues. You know, the B-Bender's a country guitar. The blonde Telecaster is just is my traditional Telecaster, which means it's more like a country guitar. But you could do your blues stuff on that. But if I want a dirty, raunchy, gritty rock and roll sound, this is the one that I go for, you know. It's overdriving that little amp, something ferocious. Let me bring it down just a little bit here. Got a lot of snarl to it. So, anyway, that's the guitar that lives here in blue Telecaster. I think if you would ask me about the, because this guitar's had the full bridge on it, pretty sure. If you had asked me about the differences on here, I think that the half bridge gives it a little bit more of a stratty sound because again, it doesn't have that magnetized front piece on it. So these strings vibrate a little bit more. And I've had other pickups in here, you know, so that's why I said that. When I put like a 52 reissue pickup in here, I thought immediately it didn't really have that Tele twang and snap to it. It had a much more of a stratty sound. So you come back to here and set that tone about right there. The strings ring a little bit longer. You know, you get a little bit more sustain out of them, a stringier sound. It's not, in comparison, it's not quite the Telecaster sound. It's different. So I think the half bridge is kind of cool. And it also, you could do this with normal Tele bridge where you cut the sides down, you know, but because of that, it doesn't have that lip going up in the front, which all my other Teles do. You can play really right over this pickup if you want to, which is a different sound, you know. Marty Stewart certainly plays a lot right there, you know. You get that tight sound to it. And if you move your hand back and forth up, you know, you know the tone differences and all that kind of thing. But it's really good for rhythm too, you know, where you can hit that rhythm there. Let's do a different kind of rhythm. Tighter, you know, it's a tighter sound. So that's one thing about the half bridge. It does let you get back up in there. You can actually clamp your hand right back here. You can mute your hand at a different place here. You can get that mute right there behind the pickup, which is kind of a little bit of a different thing than when you're muting up in front of it. So. Different. Alright, anyway. The Blue Telecaster. It's pretty fun. I like it a lot. That's why I live here. Gives me something totally different to play on. And it's a cool set of sounds with that P90 up there, man. That thing snarls.